Hi guys, my name is Mia, and I've been meaning to make this video for quite some time now. This is going to be about my testimony and what has brought me to Christ. Now, first I want to start off by giving you a little bit of my history and my background. So, I come from a broken family, and I'm sure a lot of us, no family is perfect. A lot of us come from an imperfect family. All of us are imperfect, so you're not going to find that perfect family. But when I mean by broken family, I'm talking about my dad was paralyzed. He's paralyzed from the waist down. My mom, they're both pretty heavy drinkers back when I was growing up with them. They kind of calmed down now, but when I was being raised by them, there was a lot of arguing and a lot of violence and verbal and mental abuse. And then physical, a little bit of physical, not too much physical, more mental and very critical. But anyway, so my family weren't Christians. My mom was more into like Catholicism, is that how you say it? I don't know, but like Catholic and stuff. And so she would kind of make us go to church, like mass on Sundays sometimes. She was just pretty much carrying on a tradition from how she was raised. Our family was never really religious. I say that as in like they never really had a relationship with God, and we just kind of went, we weren't Christian or anything. I didn't really know much about it. Like I had my first communion, but I didn't really know much about anything. And eventually we stopped going, and my parents were never married. They were just together, and when they were living together, like all of us were living together under the same roof, it was pretty much hell. My parents never got along. It was constant arguing, cops coming over, abuse, stuff like that. It was pretty intense, and it was hard for me to like go to school sometimes as a kid because like I had this burden with me all the time from my family, and there was times where my family would say like I don't love you, wish I never had you, stuff like that. Just very critical, and just alcohol was involved, so a lot of that was stemming from the alcoholism. And but eventually after my mom left, she moved out and she has a boyfriend, and my dad just pretty much stayed single. Like I said, he's paralyzed from the waist down. I was a troubled child growing up because of that. I feel like a lot of it had to do with how my upbringing and the things I was dealing with back at home. So I was acting out in school and stuff like that, and eventually I became depressed, and I think I was like in middle school. I got into like smoking weed, and I remember I took my first hit of the bong when I was 11 years old, and I eventually started doing that a lot. So I liked it. It kind of gave me this happy feeling. And I've never experienced happiness or a counterfeit of it because how I was being raised, what I was going through with my family, and it wasn't stable. It was a very unstable household. And then I got hooked on with drugs and stuff, and drinking and sneaking out at night and stuff like that. And I got caught up with the wrong crowd. Started at a very young age with this, and I was like suicidal when I was in middle school, and I cut myself. Not for I didn't do it for attention. I did it because I genuinely wanted to die. I did not want to be on this planet Earth. And I didn't go and show people. Eventually my parents found out, and they would try to ask me why, and I didn't want to talk about it. I just wanted to keep to myself, and they didn't really realize, I didn't know how to communicate it either, because I didn't really know what I was feeling because I was so young. I didn't really understand what was going on, and what a family actually is supposed to look like, what's healthy, what's unhealthy. But I know I was living in a very unstable household, and there was times where I would run away, and I'd get in fights with my parents as I got older, and I got arrested. I would steal, I would lie. I'd go and party. Eventually the drugs you know, it started with that hit of a bong, and then eventually it just started to escalate from there. And I was in middle school partying, you know, and eventually I got sent away by my dad because I was getting arrested. I was smoking weed. I was in jail as juvie for a little bit. And eventually, I think it was at a time where, you know, my dad would lie. He lied one time when him and I were getting into an argument. You know, he lied one time and told the cops pretty much, I don't really want to say it because it's pretty extreme, but he lied to the cops because, you know, the cops came over and I was probably like 13 maybe, and he lied to them and told them something because they were like, apparently, like, she didn't do enough she didn't really commit a crime to go and be locked up. So my dad was like, I don't want her here, blah, blah, blah. So the cops legit I'll tell you guys, but the cops legit put, like, attempted murder on the paperwork so I can go to juvie. Isn't that intense? Like, just because my dad didn't want me there that night because we were arguing getting into it, the cops lied on the paperwork and put that just to put me in juvie. So I was in juvie, and I was gonna be there for like, probably they were gonna keep me there for like 6 months, maybe to a year. And then my dad found like this place to where I go live with another family. It's kind of like what was it called? Well, it was like I wouldn't call it an orphanage, but it was more of like group homes. I don't know if you guys are familiar with that, but so I went and lived with this other family. It was Christian based. So that's the first part of when I started learning about God. Now, during this time, I was smoking weed, and I was kind of getting into the New Age movement, you know, the hippie thing, and, you know, meditating and astral projection and stuff like that. Like, I was interested in like that kind of stuff. And I've played with Ouija boards and stuff like that, but it was very, very subtle at the time. I was just getting into it, and then I got sent to this group home, and I was living with a different family and other kids from other parents that have other kids from other families that have sent them there as well. So it was Christian based as well. We went to church on Sundays there. It was like this community place, like in Indiana, and so yeah, that's when I started. Like, it was a completely different environment that I was used to. So I was put in this environment, and I actually started to feel like better. I started to get a little bit happier because I was in a stable environment. You know, I wasn't hanging around the people I was hanging out with. I wasn't doing drugs or anything like that. I was eating regularly. I was just being raised, I guess you can say, quote unquote, the right way. And it was stable, you know, it was different than what I was used to. But let me tell you, my dad sent me there because he thought I was the issue, when little did he know, you know, they offered counseling there too. So we would do counseling, and I really got close with my counselor, and I would tell him everything, and I really started opening up about my feelings. When I first got sent there, I hated counseling because they would poke and pry at me and ask me questions that were uncomfortable for me because I was so bottled up with just so many different emotions, like hurt, anger, frustration, sadness, all this kind of stuff that was built up from my family, from living with my family. So when I just got put into counseling at this group home, my counselor would ask me questions, and I would start just bawling. And I'm like, I don't want to talk about it. I hate my dad, stuff like this. And I'm like 11, 12, or 13. I can't remember. But it was around that age. And eventually, when I kept doing that. We kept having like regular counseling sessions. I was there for probably about like maybe like a year or something. So over the time, I started getting better, and I started opening up more, and I really started dealing with my emotions. I started understanding why I was feeling the way I was feeling, what was causing it, what was triggering it, and it was kind of like unraveling my emotions and just pulling back the layers of the onions to see what is causing this, you know. And we would also have like family counseling, and we'd talk on the phone with my dad, and my dad did not want to have it. Like, if anybody would tell him like, you know, you're doing this wrong, he wouldn't want to do it. He was unteachable. And he pretty much sent me there to get fixed. But little did I know, actually, God was using my dad to come to know Christ. So that was pretty much the first step. And eventually I got out of that place. I went back. Now during this time, I actually started to kind of build a relationship with God. I'd pray, just because it was what I was learning, at this group home, because we'd go to church on Sundays. They talk about God and stuff. And so I started to pick up on that, and I started to do it. And eventually I kind of started to build a little faith. But there's a parable in the Bible that Jesus talks about where, they received the word, but it's, what is it? The lust of the world, I think. I can't remember verbatim, but it's like choke the word and it becomes unfruitful. So eventually I got out of the place. I went back to doing everything I was doing before, and this time it was a lot worse. I started getting heavier into drugs, popping pills, smoking a lot of weed, ecstasy, acid. Mainly I was doing a lot of pills. So, in cough syrup, what they would call lean or whatever. And it was pretty bad. And eventually my dad sent me back to that place. And I was worse than before. And I've actually, when I got sent back to that place, I looked like, I remember when my one of the counselors saw me from the last time I was there. She looked at me, she's like, oh, whoa, because I looked so distressed. I looked like you could tell I was doing drugs. And that's what she told me. But anyway, I stayed there and I ran away, actually, because, you have to think about it. I went back, got worse by doing, a lot more drugs. My environment didn't change, so I was becoming a product of my environment. I didn't know how to handle it. And so my dad sent me back to this place. I was there for probably 9 months maybe. But when I got back into the place, it was so hard for me to adjust, because I'm like, wow, this is such a different environment. I feel so trapped. I feel like I'm completely cut off from the world. I'm not used to this. So I ran away from that place. I ran through these cornfields because we were in Indiana. I'm like, okay, I'm going to make a plan, and I'm going to take these cornfields and I'm going to get as far away from this place and call my mom to come pick me up. And because I kind of knew the people, I've heard stories from kids that ran away from there before, but they took the roads and people can see them. And the neighbors around this community know about that place, so they would, it'd be easy for you to get caught. So I was mentally taking notes about this. And so I literally took the cornfields. I was running through the cornfields, getting as far away as I can. And I found this home that was a couple miles away. And I'm like, okay, these people will help me. So I go knock on the door. And I'm like, oh, my friends deserted me at Walmart, blah, blah, blah. And they were very nice. These people, they were an old married couple. They took me in. She let me take a shower. She washed my clothes because I was so dirty. And they were going to let me sleep and stay the night until somebody could come pick me up. They were very nice people. And so eventually I got out of the shower and I was talking to my mom. I was using one of their phones to try to get me to have my mom come pick me up. And so then the husband comes around and I get out of the shower and I'm clothed and stuff, and he's like, what really happened? He knew something was up, and he's like, what really happened? He's like, I don't believe you. I think you're lying. So I went and I told them the truth. We were sitting at their dinner table and I was telling them what was going on, and I'm getting emotional right now because these people are Christian too. What do you know? I run away from a Christian place just to land up right at a Christian home, and they start talking to me about their son and how he's in prison and how he just keeps running away from his problems. I'm getting emotional. Whew. And it really just stuck to me because I'm like, I literally made a plan and I could not run away from God. God literally used these people. This was the second time God used people in my life to get a hold of me. So their story kind of stuck to me, and I'm like, okay, I do have some issues. I knew I did. I just didn't want to work through the pain to get through it and become healthier, because working through your issues can be painful, mentally, emotionally painful, which causes a lot of people to run away from their issues. Now, I eventually, the cops came, picked me up, and they drove me back to this place, and I started to work the program, and I started getting better. I started to actually work the program and change, and I started understanding myself a lot better, my emotions, and I was probably about 16, 17 maybe, and I got out of the place, and then I went back to high school, and I was going to join the Marine Corps. So I kind of took my faith with me a little bit, but my faith was pretty much like I'd pray when I wanted to. I'd pray mainly when I wanted something, and that was it. So I got out of this place, went back to high school. I think it was like my junior year to my senior year, and I got into like, I made a plan. I was like going to join the Marine Corps and go from there, because I love the physical demanding aspect of it, and it just seemed like it was my calling, and I was praying to God. But my thing is, I had a criminal background, and I wasn't sure if they were going to be able to open it and see it, because, you know, it's working for the government, and apparently there was nothing they could see. So I took that as a sign, and I'm like, thank you, Jesus, like, awesome, I can go into the Marine Corps. This is my plan, get away from everything, you know, become something of myself. And so so I get into the Marine Corps, and you know, everything's going good. I'm like supermoto, and but I was becoming not a good person, because, how do I explain this? In the Marine Corps is a completely different world, you know, in the military. And this time I was already really heavily into New Age. I wasn't much of a Christian anymore, you know. I didn't really feel God. You know, there has been times where I would listen to worship songs, and I'd start crying for no reason, and I'd fight back these tears. I'm like, what the heck is this? Like, ew, I don't want to cry. But it was the Holy Spirit working in my life, in me, and I didn't know it. And before I actually went to the Marine Corps, my dad was putting me in Christian schools. He was into like private schools, because he didn't like the public schools and like what they would teach and stuff like that. So that was another time my dad, Jesus was using my dad to help me come to know Christ by sending me to Christian schools. And I would rebel. I wouldn't, you know, I'd just be like, no, I'm not into that, you know, more into New Age, smoking weed and stuff like that. And eventually, you know, like I was saying, I was in the Marine Corps, and I was good at what I did, my job and whatnot, but I was becoming very prideful and arrogant, and I wasn't a good person. And I ended up dating this atheist in the Marine Corps, and I would think I was in the MOS. Yeah, I was in MOS school. And my thing is when I joined, I wanted to, like, that's when they opened up combat rules for females, so I wanted to, like, really make history and stuff, and I was like, wow, this feels so right, this is my calling. And I was actually praying that I got in. I was praying to God that, you know, God, let me get in, I want to join the Marine Corps, blah, 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 and I would pray that, like, every night, and eventually, you know, I got in. And so fast forward to MOS school. It was right before I hit the fleet. I met this guy, and he was an atheist, and I never really dated much, you know. In high school or middle school, I had like one boyfriend for like 3 months, and it wasn't really anything, you know. And you know, I never really dated much, and because, you know, I kind of would see like how everybody was acting, and everyone was sleeping around, and I'd see what was going on in a relationship. I was like really a big observer about that, so I would push relationships away, because I think a lot of it had to do with how I was raised in my relationship with my family. So I never really wanted to let anyone in, especially in the military, because, you know, they just want to sleep with you, you know. They see a female and they want to sleep with you, but that's not every time, but the majority of the time. And so I ran into this guy, like I was telling you guys, this atheist, and at first I wasn't into it, and then eventually, you know, we started dating, and I was not focusing on my training, and I would sneak out and go be with this guy, and we would sleep together, blah, blah, blah. I was fornicating, drinking a lot, lying, and just doing a lot of stuff that I knew I shouldn't have been doing. And eventually it caught up to me, and I failed MOS school. And it really broke my pride, and I'm like, wow, like, I thought I was untouchable. I thought I could pretty much, you know, fly under the radar and do whatever I want, but that's not the case. So eventually after that, you know, I found out he was cheating on me a lot with multiple women. Like, I had all the proof, and I was still like trying to work with him and like still be with him. I was being dumb, and eventually, you know, we just broke up. He started dating someone else, a girl that I actually went to boot camp with, which is crazy. But So eventually I started working on my second round. I passed my MOS school. Fast forward, got into the fleets. My whole life just fell apart once I got into the fleet because a lot of things happened. I'm not going to get into many details, but I already had not a DUI. I already had a NJP for drinking. No, it's not an article. What is it? I can't remember, but I was getting a lot of trouble for UA, and then eventually I was in the fleet. He tried to get back with me, and so it was just another cycle, so eventually I took him back. We started talking, sleeping together again, and I found out he was messing with the other girl, the same girl again. So it's kind of like I got my heart broken the second time, and I would still try with this guy, but he was a narcissist, he was a manipulator, and I can't remember all the little details, but eventually, I was still suicidal. Like, I did not know I was still battling depression once I got into the Marine Corps from my family, because I still, like, anytime when things would get really hard for me, like super mental, emotional heartbreak, I would have suicidal thoughts. I would feel that way I felt with my parents. But this time it was so much worse because I was unable to focus. I was unable to focus on my work and just really, cut him off. It was really crazy. And he wasn't into God. He was an atheist and all this. So I was literally putting myself in this same situation, going through over and over again. He's actually put his hands on me one time. But anyway, it was a very toxic relationship. And eventually, I found out some stuff. He was cheating on me again, and I got drunk, and I actually cut my neck. And I was trying to hit the vein to, so I can bleed out, but that didn't happen. So once I sobered up and I was in my barracks room and I woke up the next morning for formation, I saw all these cuts on my neck, and I'm like, wow, I can't do this. So I'm emotionally, like, just overwhelmed, and I went UA, and it was just constant things like that. Eventually I was building up a lot of stuff. I couldn't trust my chain of command. I couldn't trust anyone to help me because they were already trying to get me kicked out from me coming from the schoolhouse, having an NJP already, and being a female and a male combat role. Like, I could not reach out to anybody. I couldn't trust anybody with what I was going through. And at one point they lied to me and told me that I didn't have to work the program because with my NJP, they tried getting me to do a program with like AA or something like that. And they told me, oh, you don't have to do it. You can just, sign that you refuse treatment and you'll be fine. You can go back, blah, blah, blah. So I did that, and apparently that's an automatic admin discharge if you do that. And I didn't know that. So eventually, like, I was just like, what, screw it. I don't care anymore. Like, I can't trust my chain of command. These people are supposed to help you and give you support and help you get the help that you need. So I'm dealing with this situation, and then my career on top of that. And I just felt like, and if you get a pattern of misconduct in the military, they can force you out pretty much. And so that's pretty much happened. I lost my career. I got out of the Marine Corps. The relationship I was in was very toxic, and I was very mentally unstable. So I got out of the Marine Corps, went back to Illinois with my family, and eventually after that I just snapped. Like, I felt like I lost everything. I got really bad into drugs. I started doing coke. I tried heroin once by snorting it, and I just got really bad into drugs, and I slept around a couple times. I was doing fornication, lying a lot, doing Xanax. Coke was my big thing. I got really bad into coke. And I eventually, I moved to Virginia and stayed with some roommates, and it was kind of like what you call like a trap house or whatever. But constant drinking, like, every night. I was so unhappy with my life, and I didn't have any kind of direction. And it was just, I was very miserable. It was very empty. I was very ashamed. I didn't understand why things were happening the way they were in my life. Like, I thought this was my calling, and just a lot of stuff was happening. And I was living in Virginia, and still doing drugs and stuff like that. And eventually, like, I was going to move to Hawaii, I was talking to this guy, and I had my plane ticket. I was going to fly to Hawaii, and something just felt so wrong. And that was the first time I felt one of the times I felt the Holy Spirit talk, like, literally convicting me, like, telling me, like, don't go. Like, it's going to be, it's not for you. And I was like, why do I feel this way? And eventually God used somebody else in my life, and I was talking to this guy, and I eventually, it's a long story between him and I, but he used him, and I went out and saw him, and he started talking to me about God, and I'm just sitting there, and it just clicks for me. It's like I had a flashback of all these times God has used people in my life, all these little touches I had from God, these people, and I just had like an epiphany, if I'm using the right word, I don't know, but it just all clicks for me. I'm like, wow, that's why I felt the way like I was in Hawaii, because if I would have moved to Hawaii, I wouldn't have flew out to Cali and talked to God with this guy. And so it just clicked for me, and eventually since that, like, I got baptized. I got rebaptized, actually, and I started really, progressing in my walk with God. Now, the thing is those are all the major events that pretty much happened in my life that led me to Christ. Now, I'll talk to you guys a little bit about New Age that I was in, and just the emptiness. Like, I thought, careers would fulfill me. I thought drugs would fulfill me, take away the pain. I thought sleeping around, like fornication, would help. I mean, I didn't really think, having sex is going to fulfill me. Like, that didn't cross my mind. I was just acting out in these sinful ways. Like, little did I know, I was looking for that fulfillment, and I was really pressing into New Age with, like, astral projection and meditating, and I just felt like I was running in circles. I just wasn't getting anywhere. I was into, like, witchcraft and chakras and, like, crystal healing and, sage and stuff like that, and it was demonic. I mean, I'm not gonna get too much into it, but I was entering into this spiritual, like, realm, but it was demonic. Like, I know New Age tries to come across as, like, like the actual spiritual essence, like, this is where you come from kind of thing, and honestly, it's demonic. You're opening yourself up for demonic possession, and there was a lot of times that the devil, like, demons were messing with me. I had a lot of demonic dreams, and there was this one dream that I had when I believe, like, I was honestly possessed at one point, because I was living in my dad's house when I was like 13 maybe, and I literally felt, like, in the spirit, like, this demon was just jerking me around my room and just moving me all over the place. Like, I would actually, when I'd smoke weed, I'd feel presence of demons, and I had demonic dreams, and I've had spiritual attacks, and it was really intense, and it was crazy, and I didn't really understand why this was happening. But eventually, once I came to find God and it clicked for me, I stopped with the New Age. I started learning more about Jesus, and I later, like, it's been a journey since then, and I'm still learning a lot right now today. That was about 2 years ago when I really truly came to know God. And I know it talks about in the Bible, like, the different parables of, like, seeds being planted, but if it wasn't for all those encounters I had with people, if it wasn't for all those encounters I had with Christianity, and I wouldn't be here to where I am today. See, the thing is God works in mysterious ways, and it's all about planting that seed. It talks about it in the Bible. You keep planting that seed in somebody's life, and eventually it's gonna all make sense in the end when you actually find God. And so yeah, that was pretty much it. it wasn't fulfilling. Like I would search, like I would go through like Buddhism and Hinduism, and at one point I was just like, I became an atheist because I wasn't getting anywhere. I was searching all these religions, and I wasn't feeling the fulfillment that I wanted and I was looking for. And like I knew, even when, like before I came to know God, I knew like something didn't make sense about all these different religions. I knew something was wrong, and I was like, there can't be all these religions and whatever just works for you works for you. Like, we're all human, okay? There's one creator, because we're all the same. Like, no religion just works for you, you know? And like I just knew like one of them had to be real, you know, one of them had to be the way, and I just didn't know which one it was. And I would push away Christianity because it was weird to me, you know. I wasn't used to that. I'm like, you mentioned the name Jesus, and I'm like, ugh, you know. But if you think about it, like I was so filled with the world, I was opening myself up to demons, that when I'd hear Jesus, I would like cringe a little bit. And it talks about there's power in the name of Jesus, and Jesus is the way, and I was opening myself up to demons. So it was like those demons were like cringing at Jesus, because, you know, demons oppose Jesus. You know, demons are the complete opposite against God. They're unholy. So when, you know, you mention something holy, it's gonna clash with my unholiness, and it's gonna make me feel uncomfortable. It's kind of like conviction. And so yeah. And that's why I was rejecting it, because I was like, it makes me uncomfortable. Like, it just weirds me out, you know? And so yeah, and eventually, like, you know, I was praying a lot, and I was talking to God, and I was starting to build that relationship with God, and I was starting to really see my life change. I don't do drugs anymore. I don't drink anymore. I don't curse anymore. Like, my life has completely changed. It's done a complete 180. I don't fornicate. I don't have the desires I used to before. Like, God has power to break any bondage, any chain. Like, addiction, broken in Jesus' name. Like, I don't think people realize, like, God can break these things. God can heal you. God can really deliver you from things that, you know, seem impossible to you. You know, like, you're going to AA and NA, and you have to constantly open up with, hi, my name is blah, blah, and I'm an addict. Like, constantly reminding you that you're in a weak spot, that you are an addict, when honestly, like, no, there's a cure for that. It's not going to AA. It's not going to NA. It's called Jesus. He's the answer to everything that we need. And I've been to, the rehab before. None of that crap works. Like, one time I was in rehab. I was in the inpatient center, so I was like living there with them. There was this one person who was supposed to be a counselor, and we would do like groups and stuff, and she said something like, your what did she say, higher power. She said something like, your higher power can be a doorknob, and you pray that doorknob, and it's gonna help you get through it. And I'm just like, you think I'm stupid? You think me praying to a doorknob is gonna help me with my addiction? Like, that's so dumb. And I'm just like, why do people listen to this crap? At the time, though, I was only smoking weed, so I didn't have an issue. I've never really been through withdrawals or anything like that. You know, coming to Jesus, everything was broken. I don't have the desire to do drugs. I don't have the desire to drink. I'm not even an addict. Like, I feel like you labeling yourself an addict just because you've done a lot of drugs before is dumb. Because no, you're a child of God, and God can break any addiction. God can heal any sickness. God can really deliver you from the most darkest areas. Like, oh my goodness, he picked me up. He reached into hell and literally pulled me out. He plucked the fingers, the grip. He pulled back the grip of the devil on me and freed me from the most darkest place I have ever been in. So no, you're not going to tell me that Jesus doesn't real, because I would not be here today. I was very suicidal before. Very suicidal. I have tried to kill myself like more than I have fingers on my hands. Literally popping pills, cutting myself. Literally, I've overdosed on pills so many times trying to just like leave this planet, and God would not let me go. Like, I'm telling you, like, it is very powerful to think that, you know, God has a plan for me, and God has a plan for you too. And just because you may feel like you're, you know, overwhelmed, and you feel like there's no hope for you, and you're just stuck, and you're just, you're stuck in this vicious cycle of constantly screwing up and failures after failures, getting hurt over and over and over again, like, there is hope for you, and that's Jesus. That is Jesus. I'm telling you, like, I would not be here today if it wasn't for God. And it's so crazy, all the people he's used in my life, all the, I tried to run away from God so many times in my life, just from him using these people and these just using these people in my life and really just trying to work with me. But I was running away from God. I was fighting God, and that's why my life was so hard, was because I was fighting the hand of the God Almighty. I would not submit myself, and he wanted me to submit to him. He wanted to show me how much he loved me, how much he cared about me, and that I didn't have to live in sin, that I didn't have to live in bondage or enslaved to demonic oppression and demons. Like, I didn't have to live like that, but I was putting myself in that situation constantly over and over and over again, because I just kept rejecting Jesus. I kept rejecting his hand, and it got to the point to where I felt like, I look back and I think like I was kind of like Jonah, and I was running away from God, and God was literally controlling the things around me just to navigate me to where I needed to be. And eventually, like, I just stopped fighting it, and I'm just like, okay, like, I just got to submit to this. This is where life is taking me. I got to deal with it. I got to submit to this, and eventually my life changed. Like, I submitted to God, and I wouldn't be here today. Like, I should be in jail, on the streets, dead, or still on drugs, like, and I'm not at all. Like, oh my goodness, like, you have no idea all the stuff that I have been through, and to where all that has brought me to where I am today. And like, there is hope for you, there is a cure for you, and there is an answer, and that is God, that is Jesus. And just stop running from him. Stop rejecting him. Stop ignoring his outstretched arm to you. Like, I know maybe it may seem weird in the beginning, but just, try it. I'm telling you, like, it took me all that crap for me to finally submit myself. It took me all that crap, but eventually it clicked for me, and I'm just like, wow, God is so good. He could have easily given up on me. He could have easily let me die when I tried to kill myself. Like, he did not have to work with me all those years. Talk about mercy, grace, and patience and love. Like, we get mad and we get done with somebody when we're dating them for like 3 months, and they piss us off, and we're like, I'm done with this relationship, blah, blah, blah. Think about God and all those years that he has stuck by my side, and I constantly rejected him. I constantly, put him on the back burner. I ignored him, and he just stayed right there. And I'm just like, wow, that's so crazy. That is so crazy. Oh, man. And a lot of the times I wish I knew then what I know now, and I wouldn't have gone through all that. But at the same time, I own it. I own it all. All that is my testimony, and I've been through all of that, so I can speak to you guys about it if you're struggling with the same thing, if you're going through the same thing. Like, I got pulled out of it. God pulled me out of it. God pulled me out of it. And I used to be there. I used to be where you were. I used to be where you are right now. Who's ever watching this, like, God is real. God is so real. That's my testimony. That's my testimony. And God can use the most messed up people that the world rejects. He'll use the foolish things of the world to confound the wise. Literally. It's written, but not even that, but like, I can help somebody now who's struggling with depression or suicide or drug addiction, or who's fornicating, or, who's stealing, and just constantly living in sin. Like, I didn't realize, but when you start reading the Bible, I've read the Bible through many times. It's hard to completely grasp your mind around it. That's why you have to constantly keep reading it. But I have learned so much about why I was going through the things I was going through. Because I was outside of God's word. I was outside of him. And I was battling the world. I was battling demons. I was putting myself in situations that I didn't realize. But when I opened the Bible and I started reading and understanding things and educating myself, I was like, wow, I used to do that. And wow, that really is I was battling consequences. I was battling all this kind of stuff because I was doing this when the God doesn't want us to do that, because it's to protect us. He puts laws and he has rules for us to protect us. It's not to enslave us, it's to protect us. Literally. Man, but yeah. So I encourage you guys, who's ever watching this, that if you're going through similar things, if you do not know who God is, and even if maybe you're battling something else, but you don't know God, you don't have to battle it by yourself. People will fail you. People will fail you. Relationships in the world will fail you, but God will never fail you. He's the same yesterday, today, and forevermore. He is unchanging. People change. Feelings change. The world changes. The situations around you change. Like, there's literally things outside of our control, but God is in control. God is like completely in control. And if you submit yourself to him, if you seek him, if you pray to him, if you start building that relationship with him, he will start showing you these things. He will start, turning your life around, completely changing it for your good. And it's crazy. God is so good. It's so supernatural. I'm telling you, my life has completely changed. Like, I don't even recognize myself from who I used to be. So, yeah, I just encourage you to seek him. Don't reject him, because the times we're living in, it's very crucial for us to have a real prayer life and a real relationship with God. Because, a lot of the things that are happening right now are prophesied. They're in the Bible. And, if you read Revelation, there's going to come a time where this world will end. And we are living in the end times. I believe we are, because a lot of it is already written. And it shows us in Revelation the things that are going to happen, that will show you the signs, that will show you and I that we are living in the end times. And my friend, we are. If you look and you open the Bible and you just read it, educate yourself, don't reject it. Come to it with an open mind and really seek God about it and have him show you he's real, because he doesn't lie. If you seek him, if you ask him, he will answer you. So I'm telling you, don't play Russian roulette with your soul. I've heard that from a preacher, and it's really good. Don't fall for the temporary highs of this world, the things that are not everlasting. The drugs only fill you up for a little bit, and then you're left even feeling emptier than before. Sex is only a pleasure for a little bit, but God is what fulfills you. I'm telling you, he fulfills you. And I'm talking about constant fulfillment, not some highs that you got to keep chasing, not anything that you got to keep running in circles for. Stop running on empty when you can be full. Be full of God, and he will fulfill you. I'm telling you, there is no fulfillment like it ever before. And a lot of you guys do not know what fulfillment feels like. You think you might do, from having all this money, from sleeping around a lot, from doing a lot of drugs. You might think, or being a successful businessman and not knowing God. You may have the greatest job on the planet and not know God, but you are still unfulfilled, my friend. I'm telling you right now, you could be the most richest person on this world and you are still unfulfilled if you do not know who God is. Because I'm telling you, I went from a place of not knowing God, chasing all these temporary things that the world has to offer, that I thought, wow, like this is a good feeling. Wow, this is awesome. I think I'm happy. I think I'm fulfilled, but then I'm not. And then I get a taste of who God is. Man, I'm telling you, euphoric, completely different than what we're used to, because you're only used to being unfulfilled. You're content with being unfulfilled. And at that time I thought maybe this is all that their life had to offer. And I knew there was something wrong. I knew something just wasn't fitting. Nothing, that puzzle piece was still missing. And I'm just like, why do I feel this way? And then God showed himself and it clicked for me. And then bam, that missing puzzle piece went right into my heart. And I'm like, fulfillment. Wow. I've never felt this before. That's why it says, oh, taste and see that the Lord is good, for he is so good. I'm telling you right now. See, God, we are running out of time, and you do not have to live on empty anymore. But, and it's a learning process. You're always going to constantly be learning. You will never be perfect, but strive for it. And God will turn your life around for the better. He will change you to be a better person, and he will show you, to literally show you the truth. Show you the truth. He will bring you understanding, and it will blow your mind. because, you know, his ways are not our ways. He sits on high and he looks low. We are in the world. He's outside of the world. He's outside of time and space. Like, he looks from high to low, you know? He's completely, like, the things he understands is beyond our understanding. Our understanding is capped. But what God, forget it. He's magnificent. He's an all-knowing, all-powerful being. So, and it's spiritual and it's awesome. But, yeah, that's all I got for you guys. I hope this blesses you. I hope it opens your eyes maybe a little bit, and I hope it really encourages you to see God, because he is very real, and he will reveal himself to you if you just ask him, you know. But that's all I have for you guys, and I hope this blesses you.